The subject of this video is embellishing items made on the wood lathe with copper leaf. As you can see, I have a vase. This vase was turned on the wood lathe. It was finished, sanded to 320, then it was sealed with a de-waxed shellac that cured overnight. Then I put on a nice even coat of a really good hard varnish. In this case I used Balin's rock hard table varnish. Let that cure a couple of days. The next step is to put the size on, and I use Mona Lisa size. It's a water-based size. Brushes clean up with soap and water. Doesn't take a lot. Stir it up. I use a small, inexpensive, soft hair brush, like this one right here is my brush. And I just brush it on nice and even and get a really nice coat of the size on my piece. That's all been done. So this vase has got the tack on it. It's been set in about 45 minutes. It's nice and tacky. If you touch it with your knuckle, you can feel the tack. The copper leaf that I'm using, I get from artchemical.com. Can you see that? And it comes in books. The tissue paper between the sheets. You can see the copper leaf. I also take about 5 or 6 sheets of it and I cut it with my scissors to these smaller pieces right here, because some of the smaller pieces will be used to fill in and they're easier to use. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to apply a full sheet to the vase. And don't worry about getting ripples in it or folds or getting it on exactly straight. You don't have to worry about that, because it'll lay on and fold right in and take care of itself. I just laid that right on there, just like that. Don't worry if it folds or gets folded on itself. That's not a big deal, because when you get ready to burnish it with wax paper, that'll all come off. That'll all fill right in. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just even it out with my brush. Okay? This time I'm going to pick up the sheet and just lay it on with my hands. Now you don't want to touch this tack with your hands or your fingers, because your oils on your hands will get on the tack and it won't adhere to your leaf. So you want to not touch it as much as you can with your fingers or your hands. You don't want to come in contact with the leaf. I mean with the tack. Don't worry about overlapping it. Remember, it's only going to stick where the tack is. If you overlap it onto another piece of copper, it won't stick there. So it's all going to even out in the end. You can see what I'm talking about right here. See that? That folded over. It's not going to stick, that'll come off. And you just work your way around. Cover up all the tack. Take another sheet. Lay it on. Work all the way around the vase. You want to make sure you don't have a breeze blowing or windows open. The slightest little puff of air will drive you mad. Now I'm going to take one of these smaller sheets and lay it on right there. Notice I got a little bald spot right there, no problem. Just pick up a piece, lay it on there, tap it in. The tack will take care of it. As I said, if it's not, see, it won't stick to the copper. It only sticks to the tack. I'll pull that off. Just put that right on there. Get this piece. Pull it loose. Put it right there. Got a couple bald spots right there. I'll use this. And it'll stick to those tiny spots. Everywhere there's tack, this leaf will stick to it. And if you burnish it on proper, it'll adhere and you'll never ever know there was a bald spot there. Work around your vase and get everything covered. Notice I'm just pulling these pieces off that are not stuck, that are already got copper on them. They just come right off. I just work around, adding them on. Very simple. Nothing to it. I need a piece right here. Lay that right on there. Working my way around the base. Being careful not to touch the tack with my fingers. And don't worry about taking small pieces, sticking on. They'll stick. Every piece doesn't have to be a huge piece of foil or leaf. I mean, tiny pieces will fit too. They'll stick right on. So just take the pieces that are loose around your, stick them right on. You see how I'm doing that? Let's pull this piece off right here. It didn't stick. Stick it right on there. The next step is to burnish the leaf in with wax paper. Just plain old kitchen wax paper. What I do is I tear off a sheet. Doesn't take a lot. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rub it lightly, just like this, and burnish it in. What I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to make sure that every single millimeter micro spot is making contact with the size and the wood. So when I go over this the first time, I'm just going to use a light pressure, and as I get more and more along, I add more pressure. I want to make sure that this is getting right down into the pores of the wood. And if you do a good job, and if the wood that you're using has a nice pronounced figure to it, you can see the figure right through the copper. And be careful with your fingernails, because it will scratch your copper. And because your wood is black underneath, you'll see it right through it. And adding more and more pressure. You want to keep the wax paper flat. You don't want to get any sharp edges on the wax paper, because that'll dig into your leaf and ruin it. So you want to make sure at all times your wax paper is nice and flat and it's not creased over. Okay, after you think you've sufficiently made good contact and burnished it, what you're going to do is come back with your brush, and now you're going to remove the tailings. And the tailings are pieces that have not made contact with the size. Like if you look right here, you can see there's some sections that had not made contact, and you just brush it lightly with your brush, mostly the tip of your brush, and you get those tiny little fine tailings off. You work over the whole piece this way, and if you do it right, those places will disappear. There'll be no creases, there'll be no seams. This copper leafing will be completely seamless, and you won't be able to tell that it wasn't sprayed on with a sprayer.